Hello, lovely people. Welcome back to Aphantasia Studios. It's been a minute. It's been like a month since my last upload, if I recall correctly. But I've been busy, guys. I've been working on a little something. And you guys are going to be hopefully excited. Ignore the fan, by the way. It's hot in here. I need it. Anyways, moving on. So, there's a story that I decided to start writing. And like I've said before, I start projects. They usually don't get finished, but it's more so a lack of investment. I'm not invested in what I start, not because I'm lazy per se, but because it just doesn't drive me. Nothing about it intrigues me enough to continue it. This story is far different. I plan to make this a full-length book. This is going to be a long project. However, I've already gotten started, so I want to take you guys through what I have so far and just see what you guys think. So what I have laid out here are 3 journals. So I've taken a different approach to storytelling because I wanted to make something that would stand out to people. Because, I think we all get bored of seeing the same thing over and over. Not that traditional books are bad in any way, but I just wanted to be innovative, and this fits my creative process very well, and it just seemed fitting. So I have 3 notebooks here, 3 protagonists. Each notebook belongs to one of the 3. We have Hazel Finch's notebook. This doesn't look like a Nathan notebook, but this is Nathan Wilder's notebook. You don't see the cover really, unless I choose to show the cover in an illustration. And this is Matthew Vale's notebook. So the story is told through each of their journal entries. I settled on it not being each journal goes in order. The pages are pieced together chronologically. Some stories overlap. Some characters recall the same event multiple times for the sake of progression. And I thought that would be just so interesting because you turn each page and you're not only thinking what comes next in the story, you're wondering, I wonder whose page it's going to be. Is it going to be a Hazel page? Is it going to be Nathan's page? And I wanted to make each notebook very personalized so that without needing names at the bottom of the page, you know who's talking, you know whose entry it is, not just by the different paper, but by means of personality and just how they go about things. This is the first page. I would think Matthew, although all of the characters are main characters, I want him to be my main protagonist. I align with him probably the most of the 3 characters. And I'll just start reading through these entries, and then you guys can tell me what you notice, and then I'll point out what I did intentionally. So this is Matthew's first entry. Tonight, the moon caught my attention. Nathan and Hazel were cracking jokes like usual around the fire. I listened here and there, but my thoughts were elsewhere. I wanted to ask Hazel what phase the moon was in. She knows more about these things than anyone I know. But for the sake of not bothering her with my poor memory, I decided not to ask. Instead, I watched it. Even fully illuminated, we only ever see one side of the moon. We have spent lifetimes convinced we understand it based on what it chooses to show us. We know it is a sphere. We know what it is made of. We even know why it moves through the sky. How it moves through the sky. But knowing something's shape does not tell you the extent of everything held inside. People are like that. Through our many phases of life, you see people in different light. Cycles repeat, and the eclipse of a facade lifts, leaving us to believe we have the full picture. Yet even I know that there are places not even the sun itself can reach. I believe that may be for the best. And that concludes, Matthew's first entry. Now, Hazel, probably my favorite notebook to make entries for. I've only made one so far, but I spent a lot of time deciding what I want these characters to be like. I spent an absurd amount of time, actually, setting up their characters and writing their personalities on other documents, so that I had a good groundwork to build off of, because I couldn't start making pages if I didn't know what the character would be thinking when they make the pages, if that makes sense. So after Matthew's entry, we get Hazel's entry, and it's very colorful. It's very striking. I want her to stand out. She's very enthusiastic as a character. She's I almost said awful person, but she's a person who's always in awe of her surroundings, and she likes to capture the beauty of it. So this is her entry. I seriously cannot believe the beauty of this place. Every morning the sun paints the land and sky differently. It's my favorite surprise. God is a far better artist than me, however. Then we have a drawing, which you'll find out soon enough who that is. The elusive nocturnal Matthew. Oh, surprise, it's Matthew. I told him he should get some rest, but I guess he finds a sort of solace in the nighttime. Sometimes I wish I could borrow his eyes for just a minute, because something about that waning crescent just seemed to entrance him. But I was equally gawking over the sunrise earlier, so see you at lunch, man. And she is a funny person. She loves to tease her friends lovingly, not in a mean way. She's a botanist, I think that's the right word. She loves plants. She loves documenting animals and wildlife. She's very knowledgeable as her character in that realm. And she likes to document those things, and I thought it'd be a funny touch if she documented Matthew as if she would any other creature. Species, Matthew. Valleus contemplatus. Habitat, large rock throne. He's very territorial. Diet, herbal tea and lengthy novels. Behavior, most active after sunset, only migrates when Nathan promises food. Status, currently hibernating. You guys might find that funny, I sure hope so. That was meant to be funny. But that's the beauty of it. Everyone interprets things their own way. I like to think she has a sort of wit to her. And I would say this is the final page, but I just finished writing another entry of Matthew's after this. But this is Nathan's notebook. And what I love about this method of storytelling is each notebook is used differently. Matthew uses it to write down his thoughts. He uses it to express himself, and since he's very quiet and reserved, he's often thinking in his own head. He doesn't say a lot of things out loud, and that's how he processes his feelings, is through his notebook. That's what it's for. Hazel, she likes to use it to capture moments, capture the feeling, to make records of things she finds pretty and beautiful. Nathan, however, he is strictly business. He uses his notebook mainly for reminders, schematics. He's an engineer. I don't really want to go into too much depth of where I'm taking this. I just want the experience of these pages to be enough for right now. So this is Nathan's notebook. Very practical. He has a to-do list. Patchwork on Hazel's jeans. Gather rocks for Smoker. Collect fish and reset traps. Look for mitochondria thing that Hazel asked for. That would be this. A ripped out page from Hazel's notebook so that he knew what to look for when he's out scavenging for materials. He's also the witty one of the group. He's quite funny. So obviously he has a to not do list. Drop rock on toes again. He checked that off 3 times. He definitely dropped rocks on his toes again. Straddle the stream in tight jeans. He did not make that mistake again. Luckily, you can only rip so many jeans. Lift with my ego. Again. He did that, obviously. It's very Nathan coded. New idea. Something to lift logs easier. Asking Matt and Hazel has proven ineffective. Crane or pulley mechanism. Possible invention. Reminder. We'll have to ask Hazel to borrow her climbing ropes. I want these notebooks to kind of build a picture over time, and I think it's fun because you look for small details and maybe something comes up earlier in the story that later is revealed to be quite important. Whether it's one of Nathan's inventions or Hazel's discoveries, it might come in handy later on. And their life is very intertwined. They're a very close group of friends in this story. So we go back to Matthew. I had a bizarre dream this morning. I was chasing a butterfly through a valley of tall grass when the stalks began entangling my feet. Running became impossible, and I eventually fell to the ground. For some reason, I didn't even try to break free and was swallowed by the earth. In darkness, I could hear the beating of a heart. The sound of molten rock running through the ground like blood traveling through arteries overwhelmed my ears. I almost felt a sort of secret being revealed to me. That is, until the scent of salmon and rosemary hit my nose. I need to add a period there. I will go back and refine these. I'm just getting them down. Was the butterfly a friend, or was it leading me into a trap? Perhaps my desire to get a better look at its beauty had blinded me from exercising caution in what was right under my nose, and it was merely just existing. I may be overthinking it now. Anyways, I was just served a delicious platter, and I will now indulge. I'll need the energy for whatever Nathan said he needed help with. I refuse to lift another log, though. My back still hurts. And so far, that is all the entries I have. In another video, I'll do a more in-depth brief, but I would like to know if you were to pick this up, and as a book, these are eventually going to be stitched together in that order. You won't have to flip through different notebooks to get the story. But let's say if it was fed to you in that order, would you find it interesting? And would you want to continue reading? I know the story is very vague right now. Currently, I'm focusing on building relatable characters and pretty much defining their identities through how they write their entries. But I am really excited about this, and I'll definitely post updates on my progress. But this is just a fun project. Even if you guys hate it, I love it. I absolutely love this. Every page I do is just so fun. And I get to focus on the tiny details before I end this video. Coffee mug stain, The wear and tear will also be a narrative device to tell what's going on. Later in the story, when things pick up, there's obviously going to be pages that are, half of it is missing. There's going to be changes in the way that these characters describe their experiences. Maybe her watercolors become more muted. She starts to see less color in the world as things weigh down on her. Matthew's entries might become a little less put together, and Nathan's entries could very well start to sound a little unorganized, even though that is the base of his character. But those little small details will be what makes this such an immersive experience. And I think I'll throw this in later in the story. There's going to be some tense moments. I have a lot of this already planned out. I'm just choosing to keep it secret. But later in the story, when things do get tense, I have a comedic relief moment. And with visual storytelling, you'll know when this comedic event happens, because Nathan will eventually lose his favorite blue pen, and his next entry will be in a different color. And it'll be something along the lines of, "Welp, lost my favorite pen. Great." And just those tiny little details is what makes this project so fun to make, and what makes me look forward to continuing it. And I'm getting to know my characters as I go just as much as anyone following along in this process. With that said, it would be awesome if you guys could drop your thoughts in the comments and reflections, maybe insights, or just little small things you notice. Maybe there's connections between the pages that you thought were interesting and would like to comment on. I'd love to see, because I didn't mention everything that I did. A lot of it is intentional. To the average viewer, they might just skim past it, but to people who are paying attention, they might really notice it. Also, one more thing. Sorry, guys. I do pay this much attention to detail. Since they're in the southern hemisphere, I've decided to change the dates on the top. It is not June, it's January now. I have yet to change it. And yes, the date that this is on is the exact same phase that the moon is actually drawn in. Little things like that. Luckily, I caught that earlier on in the process, because I would have been writing June entries, meaning that it's winter where this story takes place, and that would be a big no-no, because a lot of the striking imagery is the greenery and the plant life being very vibrant in Hazel's entries. So that would be a problem. But those are the things that you have to pay attention to in storytelling, if you care that much about immersive world building. Anyways, done yapping. You guys have a lovely morning, afternoon, night, whatever the case, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.